In this video, I want to take you through the steps I take when painting a large abstract landscape painting. I'll show you the texture up close, as well as my color palette and a few more unusual or lesser known techniques before we end up at the finished piece. So let's take a look at the process from beginning to end. I'll be using acrylic paints and I'm painting on a piece of loose linen canvas that has been mounted to the wall. After an initial thin base coat of Cadmium Orange Light, I introduce some contrasting black paints to get a bit of drama going, and I'm trying to do it rather quickly because I want to do some of these layers working wet into wet. So while the acrylic paint is still not fully dried, I want to have both some of the orange color and some of the black color, and then to be able to mix them and do some mark making directly onto the canvas. For this, I'm using a silicone scraper, and it's really a fun thing to use. I'm kind of getting down on my knees here for you to be able to see the mark making that I'm actually doing. I don't want to block the view, but basically I'm no expert at using a silicone shaper tool, so I'm seeing what it can do, what marks it can make. It's really an excellent tool for kind of moving the paint around, doing sharp edges, for all sorts of mark making that I can't use a brush for in any way. And dragging the silicone tool across the surface on top of another color also creates this thin layering that is interesting, and again it's an effect that I can't get using brushes. So I'm mixing it up a bit. Now I'm using a little bit more of some darker paint, and I want to make sure that I have some dark contrast in there as well to be able to offset the lighter and brighter color. Here we have a close-up of the texture so far. I'm using a limited palette of Cadmium Orange Light, Wedgewood Blue and Black and White. Now it's time to start layering in some of the sky. I like to work with a lot of thin layering or glazing with ample drying time in between. So I'm using thin acrylic paint, thin with water, and I'll also use acrylic medium sometimes. And then I'm using a brush, and like here I'm also using some paper towel, or sometimes I'll also use a wet wipe or a baby wipe to move the paint around on the canvas surface. I find it works really well for glazing. Here I'm layering in some green acrylic into the middle ground, and you can see some pure colors there in the middle ground as well. That blue color looks almost purple against that pure orange color. I can also use the silicone tool or silicone scraper to add paint onto the surface. It really is a very great way to add texture, to add interest, and I'm also scraping into the paint using the end of a paintbrush, creating lines, creating texture. Is something I like to do, especially on larger paintings, because it all helps to create interest and texture. I mean, I want my paintings to look great from far away and up close. It's also important for me that there's something interesting going on, something you might not notice until you get up close. So to reward the viewer from actually for stepping up and taking a closer look, I want there to be something extra, some smaller details, texture, things you might not notice until you get up close. Here I'm continuing the layering using a brush and then going in with the silicone scraper tool to manipulate the paint surface. I added some warm gray to the middle ground to make the horizon recede, and now I am adding some lighter areas using some acrylic spray paint. This is artist spray paint, artist quality spray paint, and I feel it adds a nice touch to the painting at this stage. Look at this nice, soft, atmospheric mark that I managed to achieve. I like the overall feeling of the painting, but I do want to add some more subtle mark making. I'm going back into the painting with some charcoal and also some dry pastels or soft pastels. These are great because I can manipulate them and soften them. I can wipe them off. I can do all sorts of things with this before sealing the marks in. Now came a couple of days where I wasn't painting. I was looking at the painting only. I wasn't actually painting on it. But these are also important part of the process, to reflect and to think about the different ways the painting might go, and it serves me well usually to let paintings rest once in a while. So after looking at the painting, I decided I wanted to add some more subtle shifts of color and lights in the sky area. I used some spray paint for part of the sky and ended up with this very atmospheric feel. I'm very pleased with the color palette. I have a lot of nice neutral tones that complement the stronger, more pure color notes. The painting became a little bit too dark and heavy, I think, in the middle part, so I'm gonna lighten up the sky with some brighter color, and again I'm gonna do it very with a subtle layering, and again I went in with some spray paint to do this. And what you can't see now is that I actually took a longer break as well, and assessing the painting, and decided I wanted just a very few kind of highlights in the sky to create even more depth and this atmospheric layering that I really like. My paintings aren't strictly acrylic paintings, since I do add some other elements like charcoal and pastels, as well as graphite. So they end up being mixed media, I suppose. But I really like the contrast that this creates for me, and here is a look of the finished painting, which I think came out really great with some drama and some coloring like I love in the northern part of Denmark. If you want to step into painting looser and making your painting routine more fun and enjoyable, don't forget to download your copy of the free guide, 5 Proven Ways to Loosen Up Your Painting Style. The guide has my top 5 tips to transform your painting style, so grab your copy of the guide via the link below this video.